Welcome back to Out of the Spotlight. Our next guest is someone who I look up to so much. Not only has she been killing it on Dancing with the Stars for 26 seasons now, but she is also a huge mental health advocate who has allowed us into her life by openly sharing her life journey and road to recovery. That is Cheryl Burke. The way Cheryl moves on the dance floor is effortless and beautiful, but her story to recovery and loving herself is even more beautiful. I can't wait to hear more of Cheryl's story, so get ready to feel inspired. It's an honor to say, Cheryl Burke, welcome to Out of the Spotlight.
Thanks for having me, and thank you for your kind words. And that's why I express, my story, because that's all I can do, right? Is just talk from experience and in hopes to hopefully at least one person know that they're not alone.
You're inspiring so many people with your story, and I hope you know that. It's a topic that hits home for me. I have a best friend who's going through addiction recovery, and it's one thing hearing about it, but then it's a different thing living through it with someone that you care about.
Yeah.
So I've seen it. It's right. Not easy, but you're doing a lot of good things.
Thank you. And I wish your friend, well, it's really all you can do is just be there and listen. And, at the end of the day, it's really one day at a time, sometimes 1 minute at a time.
Yeah. I'm so excited to chat with you and get to know you some more.
Yeah.
Let's go back in time a little. I know that you were born in San Francisco, California, but how did you get into dancing and how old were you?
Mm-hmm. Well, my mom put me in a bunch of extracurricular activities, from ballet to ballroom to horseback riding, soccer, softball, you name it. And I believe that what she has told me, at least, that ballroom and ballet was something that I never complained about going to every mornings during the week and over the weekend. So, I wasn't necessarily school smart, but I loved dance, and dance was my way of communication and my way of therapy. I started ballet first from 4 to 11 and then switched to ballroom from 11 till 38.
Now. Yeah, you're so good. And I remember, this was years ago, I think it was probably maybe your second season, right?
You look so young.
And I remember my coworker was like, "Are you watching Dancing with the Stars?" And I said, I wasn't watching it that year. And she's like, "You have to. There's this girl named Cheryl who is amazing. She's so good. She's fantastic." And I kid you not, I watched the next, I don't know if it was a Monday or Tuesday at the time, but I watched because she told me how good you were. Like, I kid you not. You're probably the reason why I kept watching.
Thank you.
How did you hear about Dancing with the Stars? How did that come together?
Actually, it wasn't so much, it was more about them hearing about me. I think I never, my goal was to become a world champion, whether that, that was never to be on television, never.
Wow.
I had no interest in that, actually. I had more of an interest with competing and being a world champion within the ballroom community, which is a small but yet very big. It's worldwide. But to be on television, I'm still not, and I'm not into acting or any of it. I just, I guess I fell into the right place at the right time, but also it was kind of a crossroads, because I wasn't going, like, my competitive partner and I, we weren't getting along at the time. Okay. And Louis Van Amstel, who was a part of season 1, now was back this season with Cheryl Ladd. He actually, the producers went up to him and asked if he knew of any other dancers that would like to maybe audition for Dancing with the Stars, because at the very first season they had 6 couples, I believe, and they were casting already for season 2, and that was 12 couples. So they needed more pro dancers, or to recruit some. So they told Louis told the execs to go to a dance competition in LA called, I believe it was called the Embassy Ball, which is like a local competition in California. And I was there with my professional partner at the time, and then they said that they would come to Harlem, where I was living, with my dance partner and audition me, because they were really into seeing if this would be a possibility. And, in the competition world, it's vital that you don't stop. You don't stop the circuit. So it's like living like an Olympian. Once you have established your partnership with somebody, you don't want to miss a competition, because, out of sight, out of mind. And so it was a little bit of a risk for me. I was also romantically involved with my partner. So it was a little challenging because as much as I knew I should have gone to this audition, which I ended up I did go. I also knew that I would have to choose if I got it, right? Like, do I stay in this competition world or do I see what else is out there? Knowing that my partner and boyfriend and I weren't kind of getting along at the time.
Yeah.
So at first I said, I'll only do this if you cast my partner as well. And
Nice.
he did come in for an interview, and they just didn't have any interest at that time. And I just thought, you know what, I'll just do one season, and if it doesn't work out, or it was more like I'll just do one season and go back to my competition days, because I've worked my whole life, to where I was at that point, which was just the start of my life. But, at 21 years old, I've already established like myself in the ballroom community, not as a pro, because I would have just had turned pro from amateur, but still it takes lots of years and lots of politics, I guess, to get to where you are in the ballroom industry. And then to do something like this that I thought was going to be very temporary, it was a big decision. But honestly, my partner was like supportive at the time, and I think he just he just needed a break. I think we both did. And how many seasons have I done?
Like 26.
Yeah.
I was laughing right now. I was just thinking, you said maybe one season, and here you are,
Yeah.
26 seasons
I know.
later. Also, I have to mention that you were the first female pro to win the show, which is like
Yes.
girl
Yes.
power.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, though, that was only the second season of Dancing with the Stars. But yes, definitely the first female pro for sure.
And also back to back, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so cool. What was the experience like for you at the very beginning? I know, obviously, something that I think a lot of us didn't know at the time was that you were battling a lot. You were going through a lot of things, but I think I've heard you say this, that in a way, dance also kind of saved your life.
Yeah, still, yeah, for sure. I mean, I think, look, the drinking for me didn't even start until I was 21 years old, which was probably season 2. Now, it didn't even turn into a problem, I would say, until season maybe 6 or 7. Don't quote me, but like it was living like an Olympian, so no boozing, none of it. Didn't even know I had an issue until I moved here to LA. So at the legal age of 21, when you can drink here in the States, that's when I did. And I took it to the next level because I'm very excessive. My personality is all or nothing. And, for me, that those are signs of, like, for me, not saying for everybody, but that's a sign of addiction. When I just don't know what the gray area is, because I'm all or nothing. I think that's why I was successful as a competitor and why I am today, because of that. Now, is it healthy? No. Is it living a balanced lifestyle? Absolutely not. But that's just who I am, right? And so I'm trying to now figure out how to meet in the middle and to live in the gray area sometimes. And that's just going to take a lot of work, daily work, and constant accountability, and really knowing how to separate, my actual like eagerness to do certain things or being sporadic versus like, instead of reacting, respond, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does. And by the way, I've been listening to your podcast, Burke In The Game.
Oh, thank
so
you.
good. And
Thank you.
you're just so open. And I do thank you for that, because I feel like we all need that. Because I guess that's a good thing about social media, right? The good side is getting to relate to people like you, where you make us feel like it's okay to not be okay, but just keep working on yourself. And I've never been divorced, not in this life at least, but I can relate to you more than like other people. So thank you for that.
No, I think that's I wish I had that growing up. I wish I had somebody that I could look up to and feel like I wasn't alone, because I did feel like I was alone growing up.
How are you able to take that first step, which is so hard for so many people to, want to get help, and also to accept that what they're doing is not necessarily something that's healthy?
Like I've said in I think I did a blog post for Us Weekly recently, and and unfortunately and fortunately, it was for vanity reasons. The reason why I stopped, my father had died, and I started having a major allergic reaction to the alcohol. So, meaning like anytime I would take a sip of anything, I would get hives and I would turn red. And I think from then on, this is when I had just gotten engaged, or we were celebrating our engagement party. Kim, the Hersheveks, threw for us. And I remember that night I was like, what am I doing? And I needed to, in a way, I guess that needed to happen for me to open my eyes and be like, okay, well, I can't have hives. What do I need to do? And honestly, I think my body was just rejecting the poison because it was a daily thing, and a daily thing that never really affected me. I was a very functioning drunk, is just what they say, I guess. And I functioned on it, which was the scariest, I think, option of them all.
Something else that I learned, I'm telling you, you're like the big sister that I never had. But something else that I learned was, you talk a lot about learning more about yourself and not self-sabotaging. So obviously you've been through a lot of things, but you've had a very successful career. So what advice would you give to people who perhaps are trying to take care of their mental health or perhaps go through recovery while pursuing their dreams?
Yeah. It all starts with pointing the finger at yourself. You can blame anybody around you. You can blame everybody around you, but that's just not going to fix the problem. The problem always, 100 times over and 100% of the time, you always have to point the finger back at you. Not saying like, obviously if you're a victim of abuse, or even infidelity, look, no, you don't point the finger at you saying you deserve it. That's not what I mean. I mean accountability, like, okay, well, what can I do to be better? There is always room for growth. The growth doesn't ever stop. The work, as people like to say in quotes, never stops. It's a daily thing, and you're never going to be like, okay, I'm done and I'm perfect. It's just never going to happen. I do believe that's our purpose in life, is to continue to do the work needed in order to live life and live life. I think everybody can agree that we all want to be happy, right? I think whatever that is. And I think a lot of people mistake happiness for material stuff or what outside of me will make me happy. They get it and then they realize, shit, I'm not happy. So it really starts with you. It's like being alone versus lonely. Are you able to do it? Are you able to enjoy your own company? Are you able to put yourself first? Are you able to set boundaries? Are you able to treat yourself with some respect? Are you able to preach and practice? It's like there's so much, and that's just really heavy right there, that alone. There's so much more, but like these are life lessons, and sometimes you learn the hard way and sometimes you don't, and sometimes you don't even want to be conscious about anything I just said. And for me, to live life stagnant is the worst feeling in the world. It is important that I continue to step out of my comfort zone in order to get the most out of my life. That is, at least I can speak for myself.
I love that. Right now you mentioned being alone but not being lonely, and there's a lot of pressure too, right, with social media, especially nowadays, where I feel like at least a few of my single girlfriends feel like there's like a deadline, like, oh my gosh, everyone is coupled up, or, it's like the image basically, right? And as we all know, it's not what it seems all the time.
That filtered image,
exactly. You post what you want people to see, and you're obviously you're in the public eye. So how do you deal with life? And obviously you just went through a divorce, but how do you maintain yourself just like so strong? And how do you deal with that when you know that, a lot of times all eyes are on you?
It's not about the strength for me. It's about, first of all, being true to who I really am, whatever that is, the authentic side of who I am. I do like to say that that's one of my best qualities, is authenticity. I don't need to work hard for it, because I believe that if that is the definition, if you were to be like naming a personality trait about somebody, there's no need to work hard for something that you are, right? But in order for that to continue, you need to be true to yourself if it's authenticity. And I truly believe, and I've tried it all, especially since I've been here in LA since 2006, of not being true to myself, and that was when I was at the lowest point of my life, when I was drinking to numb. look, everyone has bad days and everyone has to put a smile on. So everyone has to go to work, right? Everyone needs to, not everyone goes to work, but most people do. And when you do, you can't be, some places won't even allow you to show emotion, right?
Oh, yeah.
But I think in society today, we have mistaken feelings for only one way to feel, which is happy or positive.
Yeah.
I think that's, excuse my language, bullshit. I really do. I think that you're faking you're doing yourself a disservice by not being true to who you are. And feelings, like any feelings, come and go pretty quick. Like if you were to really sit in it. And I would say that there are days that I feel strong, but only the days I feel strong is because of the days I didn't feel strong. And I was able to show that to whoever was with me or not with me. There's always a action reaction in this world we live in. And you can't be strong without feeling weak or vulnerable. Vulnerable is not weakness, per Brene Brown, as we know. She's done years of research on this. Vulnerability is courage. It is courageous to show that side of you. And from someone who was not vulnerable or who was scared, or who basically I had no identity, let alone being vulnerable, was another was a whole nother path, which I'm on, I would like to say now. But what is the worst that could happen? There's a lot of stuff that has happened since I've been sober. My group of friends, I wouldn't even say I have a group anymore. I can count on one hand, or maybe just fingers on one hand, how many true friends I have. And I'd rather be friends with people who I either look up to or who practice what they preach, who are vulnerable, who are courageous, who are strong people that I, admire, than have my party friends back in my life, to be quite honest.
Oh, I like that so much because I learned that it's more about quality than quantity.
Oh, I don't have time for
Right?
quantity.
I agree. And I was laughing because when we were isolated, like, lockdown, I was happy. Like I was fine. I was okay with not having to go out. And that's something that I don't know. Maybe you can tell me, like, do you think that's something like that I need to or we need to work on, or is it okay to just be okay with being by yourself and not really going out all the time?
Right. But look, if I could, I'd live like a hermit up in this house, like I don't need to go out. I do know though that this is a fact that human connection is vital for people's happiness and depression and all the stuff that we don't want to feel. But I think it depends on the circumstance. Like I have not given back to myself ever in my life until just recently. I've always given. I've always said yes to everything. I've always taken people under my wing, under my home, have paid for everything, and that was a choice that I made. And now that I have learned to, or I'm still learning, and it is a process that I'll be on and journey forever, but I think the more I make the right decisions for me and stick by them regardless of the fear that comes up, still acknowledging the fear and still being okay, like, you know what, I am freaked out by whatever decision it was or whatever, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, that goes back to the authenticity and the trueness of like who you really are. I think people evolve, and I think it's very important, whether that is with somebody else or not. You're always stuck with you for the rest of your life. So you have to do what's best for you. Now, if it's an actual problem, like I've been diagnosed with social phobia, I do know for me, I have to once in a while go out. But as long as I'm not just sitting here in my home on my phone, numbing, scrolling through TikTok, stuff like that, then, you'll know when you've been diligently like doing the work and wanting to be better, because at the end of the day you have to be curious and you have to want to be better, but first you have to acknowledge that there is room for growth, because there's a lot of people living on this planet who don't believe that. Do you get anxiety around big groups of people?
So that's what I was going to mention. So when it comes to work, I'm great. Like I love talking to people. Like I love sharing stories. Even like back in the day, I used to work for like a major league soccer team. So we would have a lot of like player appearances. We would go to like hospitals, schools, and we would have events every now and then, like galas, whatnot. But
but
if
it's
it was
work
work
related, right?
related, there you go. I loved it. I was in control. Like I knew what was going to happen. I knew the
Right.
schedule.
Oh,
I knew I have to talk to this person. I have to make sure this player says hi to this kid. Eventually, I was
you're also not
interviewing.
being, you don't need to be you, you're being you.
Thank you. But if I go to
I
like a
get
get
it.
together or a party, it's not like I'm not going to be the loudest person in the room at all. I'll
Or the
just
last person to walk out. Yeah.
yeah. Oh no, no, at all. I'll
Yeah, I
probably
hear
say
you.
hello and I'm an
Mm-hmm.
observer. I'll observe like the
Mm.
room, like what's going on, and then that's
Yeah.
it. So it's I don't know. I
It's
never
different. It's different.
yeah.
Do you think that it's really, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm interviewing you now, but
No.
is it hard for you to be vulnerable?
Oh, I've gotten way better, but I'll tell you this, and I was just having this conversation with my sister yesterday. When I was
Uh-huh.
younger, like it was very hard for me to open up
So with my years
where
of
it came
therapy
from.
that I've been in, I
Yeah.
hear what you're saying because I've been through it, but I do know, again, it goes back to pointing the finger at yourself.
Yeah.
I think the reason, and this is just from what my therapist has said, and there's research about it as well, the reason why that could be a turnoff to people that like us, right, is
Hmm.
because maybe there wasn't enough self-love involved within what
Yeah.
your worth was or is. You
Ooh.
know, do you know that you're worth being treated a certain way? You know, there is no harm in asking questions to yourself, you know, and
Yeah.
really just answering them, and where what your intuition, like, you can feel it when it's right, you can feel it when you're
Yeah.
lying to yourself if you really sit still, you know, and if you're really curious enough
I
to
love
find
that.
out. And it's not always a beautiful answer, you know, sometimes it's really hardcore and harsh, but that's the only way to know. You know, when you say
Yeah.
you don't know, you do know, you just may
Yeah.
not want to know.
Yeah. Do you think that outside patterns might affect?
We are who we're raised by unless you consciously make the effort to
Yeah,
rewire your brain. And that takes
that's
a
true.
lot of work. Only
Yeah.
you know, you only know what you need. Like, I know for sure that I can't see a male therapist. That triggers a
Yeah.
lot of child abuse, you know.
Yeah.
And I also know, like, plain simple, when I get a massage, again, cannot be a man. You know, there's certain things that
Yeah.
trigger me, and even though so and so said this person's the best, it may not be the best for you. I think to be proactive on finding yourself a therapist, if you're interested in finding a therapist for yourself, for anybody, it is important you
Yeah.
do that research yourself.
Also, something that you've mentioned before, and again, I feel like I can relate, but I hope that you've made more progress than me, but like dating wise, obviously, I know you're in no hurry, but you mentioned dating apps, and I'm just like, I refuse to do that. I
Never
don't,
even tried, and I don't plan on it.
yes.
I'm not at this moment today. I don't think I am ready. I do, like I said earlier, I owe myself this time to,
Yeah.
because my thing is, I want to break the pattern. So
Yeah.
therefore, in order for me to break it, I have to believe in this new way of thinking, and then that it is rewiring my brain at 38 years old isn't
Yeah.
easy.
Well, I'm proud
So
of
as far
you.
as dating goes, if I am ready, which it will happen. I don't know
Of
when. I can't give
course.
you a date.
Yeah.
I will most likely would love to go through like a matchmaker. I think just to cut the bullshit out.
Oh, yes. Ooh, I like that. Will you
But
kind of share that with us if you do
oh my
decide to
God,
do
yeah,
it?
that's what my podcast
Okay,
is supposed to be about. But it has definitely veered off to just like, you know, there's a lot of drama and a lot of life-changing
Yeah.
events that have happened in 2022 for me, and it's not even
Yeah.
over yet. I
Yeah.
need to sit with it for a little bit, and I need to
Yeah.
feel the ups,
Yeah.
downs, and freaking all around, right? Like, I actually need that space and the quiet time to feel, because you know, I don't want this whole dating thing has to happen from a place where, you know, there isn't any, I guess, negative feelings
Yeah.
towards men, right? In general, not saying I have it. I'm just saying that I don't feel like, okay, Cheryl, I feel solid enough to where I could step out and start dating. I do believe, like I say, my lazy brain, but what I mean is my subconscious will go back to these patterns so easily.
And what helps you, you think, kind of get back on track? Is it therapy or is there something in particular?
Meditation, therapy,
I
my
like that.
gratitude journal, my online courses. I mean, again, it's
I
just
love it.
my podcasts I listen to, you know, my Audible books that I'm listening
Yeah.
to. But I'm genuinely curious about this type of stuff. I'm curious about our intelligence. I'm curious as to
Yeah.
certain effects of trauma and I'm really just curious about how it works because there's no, unfortunately, manual for all of it, right?
Yeah.
It is a fascinating thing. Us humans, every single person has it, and it's a body that, sometimes we get so caught up in. But really, we have to, like you said, you're an observer. We are not our bodies. We are
Yeah.
literally the observer of our being at the
Yeah.
moment, but I do believe that we are not what our thoughts are either. And
Yeah.
it's so, uh, it's enlightening, but it also takes a lot of practice to
Yeah.
really practice what I just preached.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm very proud of you. And I hope that people tell you
Thank
that
you.
often, or that you tell yourself that and you realize that, because I've loved listening to your journey and seeing the growth.
Thank
And
you.
I mean, we're no one to judge anyone based off of, growth or anything, but just your stories, and you're being so open with all of us. And it's so inspiring. It truly is.
Thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah.
And you're so
Of
sweet. And
course.
keep doing what you're doing. And I love
Thank you.
that you are promoting, just self help and
Yeah.
self love, and talking about these uncomfortable things isn't easy.
No. Mm-mm.
However, it's needed. And we need
Yeah.
more and more people to can get on this bandwagon because there isn't never going to be a time where mental health on its own is a pandemic in itself, and I don't believe that people are
Yeah.
taking it so seriously. So it is okay not to be okay, and that should be the message.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you. And do you have any upcoming work that you can share with us? I remember you mentioned, was it kind of like a body language type of? Yes.
Yeah, it's called
Okay.
Body Language. It's a dance
Oh,
program.
cool.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
nice.
a movement. I wouldn't say dance program because dance is very intimidating for some, but it is
Sure.
a movement directly towards healing trauma. So
Okay.
there is, this
Wow.
is another type of therapy. It's somatic therapy. So I have a cognitive therapist and a somatic therapist, and somatic focuses on your body, and we hold trauma in our bodies as human beings, but dogs don't, animals don't, because they literally shake it out. They shake out. When you see your dog shake, they're
Wow.
shaking trauma out, so they don't hold on
What?
to PTSD. That is a fact. And I believe that the reason why dance has saved my life, bringing it back to what you had said earlier, is
Yeah.
because of that. It's because of, really being as authentic as I can through movement, and being able to, like, there are certain dances that bring up certain things, because Paso Doble is the dance of like anger, right? Like it's anger, it's passionate. Then you've got, jive, which is a dance that is like a celebratory dance, right? Where you're just like
Yeah.
shaking it out. And because I never put on a face or put on anything fake when it comes to the emotion behind the dance, it has been so therapeutic. And there is a way of moving your body. This is not a exercise class, and this is definitely not a dance class, and no partner needed. This is for people who are on a break in the middle of their workday. They feel like,
Yeah.
they want to kill somebody instead, or they feel so hurt and upset by what their boss said to them. You could
Yeah.
literally do this during your lunch break in a bathroom stall, and move a certain part of your body intentionally, and let that out of your body and come back a new person. And this is what movement does to us that we're not very aware of yet when it comes to our own body awareness.
I just learned so much. I'm telling you, for a lot of people, you're like, for me, it's like the big sister I never had. And then I'm sure for other people, it's just
Oh,
a friend. But no, I did
yeah,
not know
no,
that. And
totally.
I have two dogs. So next time I see them shaking it out, I'll
Oh,
be
you
like,
do? What kind? What
so
kind of
they are
dogs
like
do you have?
Jack Russell Terrier mix,
Mm-hmm.
kind of. Yeah. So one of them is like a Jack
Cute.
Russell Terrier mixed with like a Norfolk Terrier, I think. They're
Uh-huh.
shaggy. They're cute.
I love dogs. They're so healing. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. And also,
Thank you.
you mentioned, and I don't know if, oh, well, you mentioned this. I don't know if you can talk about it, but is it possible that this will be your last season with Dancing with the Stars?
It's likely. I don't know if, that's the word I'm gonna stick to.
Okay.
I've had 25 partners.
Wow.
I've had a great run, sister. It's like, it
Yeah.
really is. Again, I need to be able to
Yeah.
just, you know, not saying it's going to close forever, but
No.
at the end of the
Yeah.
day, I do, for me and my soul, and for what, I'm blessed to for what Dancing with the Stars has given me as far as this platform goes, because I wouldn't be sitting here with you today, but I do believe I can help more people.
Sure. Yeah. And I'm telling you, you're such a good host. So who knows whether it's there or somewhere else.
Who
Like
knows?
yeah,
That
I
is
feel like
your words to God's ears.
host Cheryl. No, I think you'd kill it. You're so good. You are. And you have a way to reach people and touch people.
Thank you, my love.
Well, thank you so much. Such an honor chatting with you.
You too. Bye. Thank you so much.